This is the Moving from Surviving to Thriving with Carmel Busby. Carmel and her husband Ross live in Albuquerque with their two daughters, Catherine and Julia. Carmel was a learning and development facilitator for Wells Fargo. Carmel is 8 years from her breast cancer diagnosis, 8 years post-treatment, and was confirmed 8 years cancer-free. Since 2016, she has been a committee member for the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer events in Albuquerque, an honorary survivor for the 2016 Making Strides Against Breast Cancer fundraising campaigns. She is board of director for the Deputy James McGrain Office Street Survival Training Fund. Welcome, Carmel.
Hi, thank you, Kathy. Welcome, everybody. I'm happy and honored to be here with you all today in our virtual retreat. I'm here to share my journey through my cancer journey, although I feel like I'm still going through it, but from the start of it and into thriving. But in the years since I've moved since my diagnosis and the years moving further and further out, actually this year, this month, I got another confirmation of being cancer-free, so I'm now 9 years from post-diagnosis. But what I've learned throughout these last few years is that for myself, you do go from, you get into survivor mode, and you're in that survivor mode. But I also have learned that even while I was going through my treatment and the journey and everything, there were moments that I was still thriving. So I'm going to take you through my journey, a bit of what's happened since I was diagnosed and how things are going for me now. This is my family. I'll tell you a little bit more about them as we move through my conversation with you. So my breast cancer journey began on May 27, 2015. I was diagnosed with adenoid cystic carcinoma, which is a rare breast cancer that really only shows up, for what I've been told, less than 2% of the time in breast cancers. Now, what I've learned since, though, is that this is the most common breast cancer in rats. I'm really not sure how to take that. It's the rat my spirit animal, or what that connection might be, but I just found that kind of interesting and fun. Now, my first thoughts as my husband and I were given the diagnosis were, how was I going to survive this? How was I going to survive it for my strong daughters, Catherine and Julia, that you see on the screen here? How was I going to survive it for my husband, Ross, who's just simply amazing? And also, how was I going to survive it for my brothers and my dad? Because my dad was still with us. He was still alive at the time of my diagnosis. And what it came down to was, was I going to be able to do what my mother wasn't able to do? She passed away from breast cancer when she was only 39. So my survival, or as I say, my fight for survival, began in June. I went in for the first of 4 surgeries during this time, which was a bilateral mastectomy. In July, I began my first of 8 rounds of scheduled chemo. Of course, I was scared, just like I know many of you probably are. Scared about how was I going to feel? Am I going to be sick all the time like you see on TV and so forth? Certainly did not want to lose my hair, but as you can see on the that upper left picture with my daughters, I lost all of it, completely gone. Found out some pretty interesting things. My dad didn't even know I have a big pork stained blood mark on the back of my head. My dad didn't know because I was born with a head full of hair. So, but as I think about it, and even as I was going through chemo, there were a couple of benefits of not having any hair, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. as we continued through the months of July and into October for my chemo, I went in for infusion every 2 weeks. And in October, we didn't know this. This was my 7th round, and we didn't know it at the time, but that was going to be like my last round of chemotherapy. We went back 2 weeks later for my next round, and you go in 2 days ahead of the appointment to make sure blood levels and everything is okay, and had consulted with my oncologist, and he decided that there was no need to go through that last or the 8th round of chemo. Reason being was because neuropathy had set in my toes and in my fingers, and he didn't want to risk permanent damage. So he felt that I was in a good place, and we could move forward into the next phase of my treatment. So that was kind of the strangest feeling that we had, or for me, up to that point. We walked out of his office. We went to the scheduling desk to schedule my next appointment. We kissed each other, said, "See you later." We didn't even hug. We didn't jump up and down for joy, because I think we were just stunned. We really weren't sure what we had just been through. And and for myself, I was scared, because it felt like, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to have my doctors anymore. I'm not going to have my nurses that I saw every 2 weeks. And I kept asking myself over and over again, and some of you may be at this point in your journey, am I okay? Are they sure that there is more to do? But the reality was that there was more to do. For a while, I had checkups every 6 months. And then for the next few years, I had checkups every month, not every month, every year. And at the 5-year mark, I was moved to the survivor center for my cancer. So I made it through those first 5 years. There was another drug to be taken. I was on letrozole for 5 years. So what we realized is that we weren't alone. We still had a team of doctors to lean on. And hopefully what you all have seen over the last 2 days, yesterday and today, is that you aren't alone. There are resources out there to help you through surviving what you need to get through, and even try and thrive during that time. It may not be huge things, but it could be little small things, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. In November, 2 weeks after we were told I was done, my birthday, November 17th, hit, and I think that had been the first time that I realized I had made it. We had made it at least through this first phase of our journey. Even had the feeling that we kicked cancer to the curb. The same year, in December of 2015, I went in for my reconstructive surgery. During that time, that was my 4th surgery. And it truly, for me, felt like a new beginning, for my husband and for our girls. And like we made it, like I said, we made it through the first phase of this journey. We had moments of, and even then we had moments of thriving through this whole thing. It didn't seem like it, but when I look back on it now, when we went to go pick out my wig, it was a family event. We all sat there. I tried on wigs, and they all told me what they liked and what they didn't like. So there were, even looking at the picture on the upper left, to me, that's a moment of thriving in the midst of trying to survive this disease, because, pardon me, we were able to laugh, and we were still able to be a little bit silly at the time. One of the things that I kind of noticed throughout my journey as I look through my dates, because the dates that you go through, or at least for myself, I compartmentalized a lot of it. And so each date was a compartment: diagnosis, treatments, each of those dates that marked certain things along the way. And what I noticed, the number 7 in its different forms seemed to show up. a lot. My diagnosis was on May 27th. I went in for, I think my chemo port was insert on the 27th of the following month. And we just kept seeing the number 7 going on throughout. And I used to tease my husband, and I still every once in a while say, maybe I ought to be playing the lottery or go to Vegas and bet it all on number 7. But what I've come to realize now is that, we don't need that. So it would be fun. But what I won was a second chance at life. So for me, that was the best lottery win ever. Now, the dates, all of my dates are pretty seared in my mind. I know they're seared in my husband's mind more than sometimes than they are for me. And we do find a way to celebrate them in some way, whether it's just to mention it and say, yeah, we made it through, or going out and having dinner, or whatever it might be. But the dates during the survival part of my journey marked the journey. It marked our journey and the profound impact cancer has had on our lives, and how it changed us. It scared us, it strengthened us, and it even enlightened us along the way. Of course, the journey was hard, and it wasn't without its devastating moments. Like the day the night I came home after my head was shaved. I chose to have my head shaved because the hair was coming out. And Jess, hiring our previous speaker, talked about being honest with your kids about the hair falling out, or your hair, or coming home with no hair. And that night that I came home, my oldest was kind of indifferent about it. My husband was brilliant. He went upstairs and shaved his head, and he never went back. And our youngest daughter, it scared her, and she stayed away from me that evening. The next day she was okay though. So we received a lot of different gifts along the way, or what we felt were gifts, and we managed to thrive during this time as well. My family grew closer. We had longtime friendships that I've had deepened. I reconnected with childhood friends and some high school friends, and I've even met new friends along the way as well. So to me, this is where I see that thriving and for me, surviving and thriving are not necessarily two separate events. I felt as I look back on it now, there still were times when I was thriving. My friends would come to sit with me. I was never alone at chemo treatments. My husband would drive me, drop me off, and stay until the first friend arrived. I usually had at least 2 or 3 friends sitting with me. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. We joke around. One night, about halfway through my journey, we all went out to dinner, and we all wore wigs, colored wigs. So, I felt like we have to find the fun, or we have to try and live, even in the midst of this hardship, even in the midst of us trying to make it through and survive. There were silly moments, as I said, along the way, and things that made me smile. At one time, I had created a top 10 list of silly and interesting things that made me laugh, made me smile throughout along the way. One of the ones, I told you we'd come back to talking about the benefits of having a bald head. One of the benefits was there's nothing like having a cool pillowcase on a bald head in the middle of the night when you are having the worst hot flash that you've ever had. There's still times at night that I wish I had that. But, I think the best or the funniest thing of all during this whole crazy survival journey, one morning I was getting ready for work, and I'm putting on my wig, my short wig, and I'm, fixing it, fluffing it around. And I looked, and I was like, what is that? I saw something kind of shiny in the mirror, and I leaned in, and there was a gray hair in my wig. It gets better. It was a synthetic wig. So, if that doesn't demonstrate how stressful cancer is, I don't know. That just symbolized so much of what that journey was about. One of the other things that I also thought was kind of funny was going to work. One day I'd go in with long hair, the next day I'd go in with short hair. Sometimes I get these looks like, what the heck, that double take. Now, one of the things I've been asked has been, how has the cancer experience changed you? And I have a hard time defining that for myself at times. But what I do know is that I went through a lot of different hair changes. But two of my favorite pictures is the one that I talked about earlier on the upper left-hand side of the screen. My girls kissing my head. This was outside of my cancer center on when I had to go back in the next day for shots to boost the your white blood cell count. And I sat down, they kissed the top of my head, and my husband took the shot. To me, this represents our strength as mother and daughters. On the right-hand side, that's my husband and I think that was last year. But that beautiful bald man is my husband, Ross. And to me, this picture just represents the love and pride that I have for him. And the fact is that he's my strength and he's my rock. And I really don't tell him that often enough. Ross, as I said, he shaved his head the night that I shaved my head. And the truth of the matter is he can grow his hair back, but I love the way he looks so much that he's just kept it that way. And the girls have him, when you look in their phone contacts, he's listed as bald man, not dad. So how have I changed? My daughter, Catherine, she's the oldest one, has me that I seem more courageous. I advocate for cancer awareness, not just breast cancer any longer, but for all cancer in its many forms. He also has said that I advocate for other things stronger, and I advocate for them harder. My daughter, Julia, the youngest one, told me that I'm more grateful for things in my life. She also sees that I'm more confident by sharing my story and being open about what I've been through. Ross feels that I'm a voice, and he tells me that he sees me as a leader and advocate of cancer awareness, and that I'm an earnest volunteer for this community and other communities that I volunteer in. He says that the experience made my connection, what he sees to God, tighter. And he even said that he sees that it's made my relationship or me closer to my mom, even though she's no longer here. He also sees that my love and concern for our daughters is even more evident. I am scared. I am concerned about how they're doing and how they're what the future may bring for them in terms of the breast cancer disease. I am not, from what we can tell, I do not carry a gene for breast cancer. But, we still look back on, I had it, my mother had it. So what does that future look like for them? So yes, I was fighting during my treatment to be around for them, but I continue to fight so that we can make sure that they're not impacted by the disease, if possible. In the 9 years since my diagnosis, my limits have definitely been challenged. And there have been moments that I thought I was going to break, but I think going through this experience has made me stronger, and I didn't break. I kept standing, and I kept moving forward. So I guess what I've learned from cancer is it's important to take one step at a time. I'm really not always very good with that, but I'm still learning, and I'm trying to get there. And that's all I can do is just keep trying. But I think one of the best things when I see Ross and when we talk about things is the best thing he's ever told me, I think, is that he's proud of me and that he respects me and he loves me. You know, honestly, I couldn't ask for anything more than that. So any changes that are in me, becoming stronger, being able to stand and not break, that's all due to Ross, Catherine, and Julia. Honestly, they're my heroes and they kept me going. They were the ones that kept me going. They're the ones that kept me thriving. So what are the things that help me to continue moving forward and continue thriving after this journey? A lot of it is giving back and providing support to anybody that needs an ear or a shoulder to lean on, somebody to talk to about what that journey may have felt like. Asking me, did you feel like this? You know, so I'm committed to helping others survive and thrive during their journeys and beyond. The two girls I have, of course, I said I want to make sure that we find, hopefully someday, there is a cure that they don't have to go through what I went through, what my mother went through, or what anybody does. So it's very important for me to give back because I survived and I'm thriving. Giving back has helped me to continue to heal mentally and move in positive directions. Being here and supporting this retreat this weekend and talking to you today is one of my ways of giving back. Giving back also means sharing my journey and being an open book and willing to willing to answer any questions that you might have at the end. Now, I mentioned a few times that I thrived during my survival mode. I believe the two go hand in hand. You have to look for it though, and you have to put yourself out there, I think, to find those ways to thrive during survival mode. But thriving means being able to spend time, of course, with my family and friends and enjoying my second shot at life. Thriving, as I look at it this year, is watching both our daughters graduate from high school and reaching their goal to go to college, especially out of state, and just watching them build their own lives. It's thrilling to see them go through that, even though at times I want to stop, no, don't do that. But it's just amazing to see how they're finding their way through it all. Recently, over the summer, our oldest daughter called me and said, "Mom, look at this. She had a rash on one of her breasts, and I don't remember the name of the cancer, but there's a very aggressive form of cancer that shows up as a rash." So I told her, go into the doctors. It's probably nothing, probably got a little bit too much sun. And the doctor was like, yeah, it's probably nothing, and really wasn't going to do anything more for her other than give her a cream and tell her to go away. And she stopped him and she said, no, I need you to be serious about looking at this. My grandmother died of cancer very young, and my mom had breast cancer when she was very young. And she basically told them, I need you to take this seriously. So they did. And they checked everything. I don't believe they did not go through a mammogram, but they drew her blood. They took her very seriously. So that's thrilling to see that they will take that step forward and say, no, you need to check this out. My youngest daughter has done the same more recently with something as small as a sinus infection. The doctor just wanted to tell her, no, you'll be fine. And she was like, no, this is what I've experienced. This is what I'm feeling. So it's amazing to see that they're stepping up for themselves. Thriving is being empty nesters, and I have in my notes here, freedom. I'm really just kidding, sort of. It's time thriving is being able for my husband and I to, get to know each other again. Thriving has been about being there for my husband as he faced his own health battles and he survived them. Sometimes it's just enjoying a baseball game with the family, traveling with my brothers and their families, or even getting talked into doing a crazy 36-hour mountain trail race with my friends 10 months after I finished chemo. I didn't say anything. They didn't think of anything of it. And then when the race was done, one of them told me, "You've only been done with chemo for 10 months. What were we thinking getting you involved in this?" And it was like, we figured it out and we had a ton of fun doing it. I think thriving post-cancer is about living life, even when there's days that I do get scared still and worry that the cancer is going to come back. Anytime I have to go back for a checkup at the cancer center, blood pressure goes through the roof. But it's moving past those fears and knowing, yep, there is that possibility. I'm cancer free. I don't necessarily say, nor have I heard my doctor say that I'm cured, but I am cancer free right now. And I guess if it comes back again, then we'll figure it out again. Thriving is, like I said before, is being here with you all and being part of this amazing organization, Cancer Services of New Mexico. So, and to share a part of who I am. It's about trying to be a part of the world and saying thank you and giving back. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. And I'm an open book. If you have questions about my journey, what I felt, or anything, I'm happy to share.
My husband is Donald. My name is Joni. So much of what you said resonates with me. And I'm a 3-time cancer survivor, which my last one was removed from me 9 weeks ago. So I'm not only 9 weeks from the third cancer that they have removed from me. The first one was in 1995.
Wow.
And to let you know and to let everybody else know, you must be your own advocate, because the last cancer that I just had removed, my doctor said at the 7-year point, we're not going to test you anymore. We're not going to do scans. You're 7 years. And I said, no, I've had 2 prior cancers. You will not stop testing me. And we argued. And finally he said, fine, we'll give you a test, but you're not going to see me. You're going to see my PA. And the following year we got tested and voila, I've got it again. And accordingly, because I've had it 3 times, this is RCC, renal cell carcinoma, it's in my blood and it will occur again. It's just a matter of we don't know when. My biggest issue that I have, though, is with people that say they're cancer free. You are NED, no evidence of disease. And that's where I'm at right now at 9 weeks. But I'm still considered stage 4 NED, if that means something to anybody. It's a very difficult thing. But I am thriving. I am walking on the treadmill daily. I'm up to 2.2 miles per hour for 40 minutes. I'm trying to get back up to my 3 miles an hour. I square dance 4 days a week. I eat as healthy as I can. So I am one of these people that people say, wow, how did you get to that thriving mode? But I don't give up. And that's the biggest thing for everybody out here. Don't give up.
No.
Okay. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I hope it continues to go well for you and keep fighting for yourself. Everybody fight for yourself. It doesn't matter where you're at in the journey. My breast surgeon had actually sent in a request to have an MRI this year to do an implant study. Because when I was reconstructed, I chose to get silicone. And I got a denial from the insurance company, and they told me the denial, this kind of makes me laugh, and it doesn't. But the denial was that it was not necessary because I had a bilateral mastectomy, so there was nothing to image. So immediately called my doctor back to tell him what the results were, and they were like, no, let me talk to Dr. Smith about that. So they went in, and it took a while. It took about it took a few weeks for me to hear back from my doctor's office, and they said they resubmitted it and said this isn't just, there's other places that the cancer could go. So it's not just to do the implant study. We also need to make sure that we're checking lymph nodes and so on and so forth. So if somebody tells you something, you're not feeling good about it, fight them back.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Just a comment in the, well, a couple of comments. Laura Q says, thank you for sharing your story. Martha says, powerful stories. Thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure, Laura.
And Gracia is asking, I knew I had cancer about a year before I was finally diagnosed. The cancer was sticking out of my breast, and my primary told me it was a pulled muscle.
Oh my goodness. I hope you're doing well, Gracia. And I wish you all the best in your journey.
Is there anything else anybody would like to say before we conclude the session? I want to thank everybody for being here this weekend. I want to thank the speakers and sponsors for making this program possible. If you wish to make a financial contribution, you feel that you would like to pay it forward to others in future programs, please go to www.cancerservicesnm.org and you can contribute via credit card. We do accept checks, so you can email checks to our P.O. box that is also listed on our website. So once again, I want to thank everyone for being here this weekend. I know weekends are a valuable time, and so we hope the experience that you receive from the program is valuable and as well for you and your loved ones. Carmel, did you have something else?
I just wanted to let you all know to keep watching out on our website. We do have a couple of fundraisers that will be coming later on in the year. And we would love to see you all there if you'd like to attend.
Oh, and also, if you would like to attend a in-person retreat, our next in-person retreat is September 13th through the 15th. You don't have to come as a participant. You may come as a volunteer as well. So be on the lookout for any future information that might come out from us. We may send you a letter with volunteer information. So once again, I want to thank everybody for being here this weekend, and have a great rest of your Sunday and the following week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.